Hello and welcome. Hope everyone's doing all good. I am doing absolutely fantastic. It's a nice hot day, finished early from work. So yeah, last video was a bit of a sort of tour of the garden, just seeing where it is now as we take the step from winter spring into spring summer, tidying up a few loose ends. I am just about to go through all this now. It's had a couple of days to sort of dry out and all the bugs go through, so soon enough I will rake all that through, take out any compost and stuff to put out the front. All the mud that's left over, I'll pile it up over where the wood and the ticky head is and the stones and all that, just to bring that out a little bit. And then that'll be winter spring done with pretty much. So yeah, going forward, thought I'd just sort of go through a bit of a strategism as to what is going to be going through my mind for the next few months as we head into summer design wise. So essentially four things really, four key things, which is going to be two on the gardening side and two on the landscaping side. I'm going to leave the wonderful world of ferns behind and head into another plant group. I don't know if you can guess which one it's going to be before I say it, but there is actually one in the garden already, so if you can guess what it is first, then yeah, well done you. So essentially with the gardening side of it, now what it was that the other day I was looking at some climbers to put into these two pots here next to these fence posts that I've put these nice pots around, and I was sort of looking and going, oh yes, that's very nice flowers, and I suddenly thought I'm getting way off brief here. So what I need to do is, if you look at the title of the channel, it's not, tropical garden diary, it's not exotic garden diary, it's not even jungle garden diary, it is Jurassic garden diary. And the actual brief I've given myself, if I can remember it, is basically this is going to be my take of a Costa Rican jungle in the Jurassic age that anyone can enjoy any time of day, any day of the year, and then modernize it. So yeah, pretty specific brief, and also gives me a lot of play, because there was no Costa Rican jungles in the Jurassic age because it didn't exist. So yeah, anyway, going on from that, where the modern part of the brief comes from is basically anything with a straight line. So the climbing frame, the trellis, the fact that the play area is an octagon, the what will be a patio area is an octagon, this patio juts out in an octagon, and the more you look, oh look, more octagon type stuff right there. And then come up the side of the bench, the stone wall angles back that way straight up, and then angles back with the bench, that's an octagon. And then going on from that again, the seating area is actually an octagon jut out as well, and that's the kind of theme to modernize it all. So that's that side of it sorted. That gives me plenty of liberties that I can take with that. And then the being able to anyone can enjoy any day of the year, whatever. Main thing for that is going to be when it's raining. So that seating area there is going to have a tin roof on it, and from this fence post back to the running across the garage, as it were, to where the back fence is and the water butt, that's going to be covered with a plastic roof. That's so that in the summer I can come out and do my office work out here, and it'd be sort of slightly shady. And also going on from that, if the little one wants to come out any day of the year, his play area is not going to get muddy. The climbing frame, right, it might get a bit wet, but he can use it. This what will be my putting green, or I might just turf it up for now, just for this year. He can run on that. This patio, I've extended it out so people can be sat down and he can run up and down that. The wife's pretty easy. For want of a better phrase, all she needs is somewhere she can sunbathe. The sun in the morning comes over here, comes over my back, my left shoulder, and hits the barbecue area, which will be a little bistro area, which we'll go into another time, and then it sort of works its way around the garden this way behind us, and then it finishes over there in my evening seating area when the sun settles down over those houses over there. So if she wants to come out and sunbathe at 10 o'clock in the morning, she can pull a sun lounger up to where that patio will be, where the washing line is, hit the sun. If she wants to sunbathe at 7 o'clock in the evening, she can pull a sun lounger out, and because this has been extended, she can do that. And me, I'm even easier. I just need somewhere I can have a fire and somewhere I can string a hammock up. Now I've put in these fence posts all jotted around in different angles. I've even got that at the back where the British flag is. To the left of it, you see that bracket that's half hanging off at the top of that fence post. Just about a foot down, you can probably just see there's a little hook there. That then runs across, and on the left hand side of the first vertical batten to the right of that planter, that raised planter, there's a little hook there, which I can string it up there, so I won't be in anybody's way, or I can move around if I want a bit of shade. And with regards to the fire, I was going to dig a fire pit out in the centre where the washing line is. I might still do it, but for now I'm just going to buy one of them fire pits, an octagon one, you'll be surprised to hear, with the little sort of table bit around it, you know, the little shelf around it, with the, you know, you get them with the hanging grills, the sort of swinging grills on top of them, and that's quite good because it means that I can have a fire up there if I want, or if I want I can set up there in the evening, and where that bit of grass is at the front of the two pavers, somewhere in and around there, I can have a little fire there if I need to. So yeah, that gives me you know, anyone can enjoy it any day of the year. So the last bit, the Jurassic part, that's going to be done by the plants, which is why it's mostly ferns at the moment. So if you think about Jurassic plants, what you or I particularly think of is non-flowering plants. Now that's okay, but when it comes to climbers and covering up all the fences around the place, you know, there are no climbing ferns as far as I'm aware. If I'm wrong, then please do let me know in the comments ASAP. But otherwise, all climbers have flowers, even the fat cedera over there, which is definitely one for the foliage, that has flowers. Ivy has flowers. They're very, like, sort of not flowery, but it still has them. So yeah, the rule I've given myself is I'm not to put anything in specifically for the flowers. Obviously I'm going to indulge myself a little bit here and there, but mainly it's going to be for the foliage, which is why the least sort of jungly one of them all, the Tracheospernum up against this thing, is there. It's because when you're here, as most people are, you don't really see it because you're looking down the line of it. And then the fat cedera is going to run up hopefully behind the seating area there. That's obviously one for the foliage. One I'm going to take a little bit of liberty on is probably in and around that fascia in the centre of the screen. I'm going to put a hydrangea simanii, which is evergreen, and the flowers are quite nice on it. The missus does like those flowers though, so I'll let myself have that one. I've got the two pilostagias at the back, which I've already said I like the foliage on. I haven't even seen the flowers. At the back where the British flag is, to the right of that, I'm going to get a Clematis armandii. That's going to cover up that half of the fence, and then it will run over the big waterfall that's going to be over in the back corner there, and that should look quite nice because, as you can see now, that fence is in shade. As soon as it gets to 1 o'clock and the sun starts going over that tree, it's all dark, so the white flowers should sort of stand out quite nicely. And then the one I've taken real liberty on is obviously the giant honeysuckle over here, which, you know, conveniently has 15 centimeter long purple orange flowers, but also it's evergreen or semi-evergreen, and these leaves get up to 15 centimeters as well, so that should cover up all of that vertical plane there. So yeah, now you think of non-flowering plants, so also the three main groups, I know this isn't strictly true, but the three main groups are mosses. I can't do anything with the mosses yet until I've got all the rock work done, and when I do, without trying to be too much, but my garage roof there, I don't know if you'll see it because the light is totally covered in moss, so when the time comes I can just pull all of that off and shove it all in the rocks, and if it lives, it lives. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll just put off some more and put it in there. So you've got mosses, you've got ferns, which, you know, I've got some ferns here and there, and also the last one is conifers, which I completely forgot about, and actually solves quite a lot of problems for me. If you guessed it, then well done. If you're thinking now, where the hell's the conifer, it's there. That was one that was out the front that I'd accidentally hidden behind some pallets, and then when I pulled the pallets out a couple of weeks ago, it was all dead. So yeah, which is kind of ironic because that's the exact sort of conifer I want. So yeah, when I talk about conifers, I split them. I don't know anything yet. I'm going to buy a couple of books shortly, and do some nice research into them like I did with the ferns. But for my money at the moment, there's two types. There's the conifery type, which is that sort of one, and then a more pine type one. So already I'm thinking I don't need big ones, just dwarf ones. I'm thinking between those two ferns there in with the Larissa, I might get one of those pines that's kind of got puffs, you know, it's got balls or puffs of pine at the end of each branch, if you see what I mean, rather than a sort of Christmas tree like one of those ones that has the cones on it. That would look quite nice there, and in the winter it'll offer a bit of shelter for the Lilithra. In here to the left of the banana, so in the corner to the left on that flower bed in the center, we've got the fern that's going to go there. Where the British flag is facing the bed at the back, there's going to be another fern. Now I know that one's dead, but I'll put another one in there. So the space between those two to the left of that banana, I'm thinking one of those kind of I want to call them cypress, you know, like when people think of Tuscany and you get those really thin, tall conifers, like that sort of ilk, if I put one of them there and then go into that fence post at the back, we've got the British flag. To the left of that, we've got that fence post where I was hanging up my hammock on. Where that bamboo is next to that fence post, just to the right of it, probably somewhere in and around there, another one of those cypressy type ones, the thin ones. And then if needed, over there to the left of the fig tree where the fence post is, in and around there, if the Cyathea goes Pete Tong, then another little piney one there. And it also just means that I can dot stuff in and around and it opens it up to me. So yeah, that's where I'm going with that. So that's number one of my thoughts going forward, is just conifers. So yeah, that'll be on my mind, and I'll get some books, look out at garden centres, and hopefully come up with some ideas for that once I know what I'm getting. Obviously I don't want to buy a conifer in 10 years time it'd be 20 foot high, so although maybe the one at the back might be good because it might offer a bit of protection. So yeah, so that's the main thing theory wise. Now the next one, I've already mentioned them, is the climbers. Really I want to get any climbers in the ground, just to get them going, and then I can forget about them. But in order to do the climbers, I'm going to have to do some of the trellising for them to attach to. Now as I've said, going to do kind of, if you imagine where the top of those octagons are, if I was to cut out the octagons and just have the 5 or 6 horizontal bits going across the top third, that's the plan for all this area around here. I'll do it slightly different. I'm not going to put all the other fencing in, I'm just going to do it on top of this. But essentially what the plan is I will get some of this wood that I've got here on this fence post, which is as wide as the fence post but it's only half as thick, strap that to the front of each fence post, and then I can just get some of that trellis, that wood, that batten I add, and then just cut the custom lengths across. And I'll probably bring the horizontals down from the top all the way down to the top of that seat where that little pipe clip is, you know, the top of the fat cedera there. That's the sort of height I'll do it. And then underneath there, as I have done over in the corner, just run a couple of wires across for now. But that leads into another thing, which is where it starts getting annoying, because if I do that, I'm going to need to do the actual bit of this pergola. Now how it's going to work, if we come over here actually for a second, so this Larissa, if it goes really well, it's going to reach the top of this fence post by the end of the year, which means I need somewhere for it to go. So you would just think, oh yeah, you're doing a nice little pergola bit over that seat, so just run a bit of wood across there to this one, and then that'll do, and then I can put in the little struts after. But it doesn't quite work like that, because that fence post is a lot higher than these. So what I need to do is get the bit of wood running across from this fence post nearest us across the top of all of them, which is probably going to be twice as thick as a fence post, so 20 centimeters. Sit that on top of those three, and then the wood that comes across from that fence post is going to come across and sit on top of that, if you see what I mean. Now, same again for this side, as in I'm going to need the bit of wood running. What I'm going to do here, because of the way I've done it, the first bit of wood I'm going to cut at the height of this, and then I can run the wood, sit it on top of that, and it will run across here and come across to this fence post, and then the bit of wood that will come from the top of that fence post will come across and sit on top of that wood, the same as the other side. And then I need to come back with a strut or two, and because I think this is going to have a tin roof on, which I haven't planned yet, but this is the point, this is what I've got to think about. And then it's going to have a strut going from that fence post with the vertical garden on directly back to the lantern one, and it'll probably need one coming from there across to this middle fence post, but I need to tally it up. But it just goes to show that if I want to trellis off this bit of fence here, I need to do all of that. So it's a bit annoying, but the other ones down the bottom should be quite easy. The bits behind the climbing frame, obviously it's very slow growing, so I'm not in any rush to do those climbers, but I'll do the same with that. Now with the one at the back where the clematis amandii is going, that's going to be slightly more difficult, because I was thinking about the electrics the other day for the garden. The way I'm going to do it is where the British flag is, I'm going to have one light with two spotlights, one going to the left where the climbing frame is, and one going right over this patio here. And what the actual plan will be if I come this way is that essentially what will happen is you'll walk out of the patio doors here, that will turn on a censored light which will light up underneath all this, which will be a big pergola. And then if you come over here, there'll be two switches between this window. One of them will do the back floodlight right where the British flag is, and the other one I might put some light on the vertical garden and that other equivalent fence post over there, which will then light up this bit, because it could be a putting green, and you know, if the lads and I have had a long hard day having a barbecue and drinking cocktails out here, we might have to do the putting in the dark, so we might need a couple of lights. So yeah, so what I've done, I was a bit of a clever boy when we first moved in here, and this was all wilderness as far as the eye can see, i.e. up to the fence and just overgrown lawn that hadn't been looked after for a couple of years. I dug it up and I dug a massive trench from the water butt. It runs all the way underneath all of that lot, up that back fence, comes across here, and then it actually sticks his head out on the right of this flower bed. But then in my wisdom, I've run them across here, and you can see the two cables are coming out here. So one of them's for a socket, one of them's for the light. Socket one's all right, that's the socket, because that's going to power my pump for the waterfall, which is going to go where these breeze blocks are. The cable, again, I left myself a little bit of a gap between the breeze block and the seat. I can run the cable here, and then the socket will go over here somewhere, so it's well away from the water. And also we might get some like fairy lights or lights in the waterfall, so that will run off this socket as well, so that's fine, because I don't need to worry about doing any of that yet until I get the waterfall. But with the light, that cable, because that end is going to be the light end, that needs to be in the center coming up the back of that fence. But I've put all those rocks all over it now, and it won't just, it's really unworkable, that armored cable, so I can't just pull it through from one end. I'd have to literally take all those rocks out, pull the light cable up, and then put all the rocks back. So yeah, slightly annoying, but you know, not uncommon for me to do annoying things. So yeah, that's that. And then yeah, lastly is just the other utilities. I need to get my heating pipes out, just the first fix, just ready for winter. And then what that'll mean is that I'll just have two pipes running around the whole garden effectively, and then when the time comes and I know where I need them, i.e. the Cyathias and the Larissa, I'll just cut into them, put the little coil around it, and all the hard work's done, if you see what I mean. So I need to get that lot out here. And then finally, just the two irrigation circuits. One of the, you know, I'm going to run all my irrigation off the water butt, hopefully, or the water butts when I get them done next year out the front. One of them is going to be a gravity circuit, which is the one that's already out there now. That is going to start there, run this way along the bottom of this wall, along the bottom of the house, through all that pipe where they've already put it around the back here, and then come across here, and then it all feeds all through. And what I've done, I'll just show you one, but I've got these going all over the place, is when I was doing all this in, I've put a bit of tube there, and then that runs under all this lot and pops his head up there. Again, with the irrigation, you obviously can't see how it jumps from that bed to this bed, but what it does, if I can find it, there it is there. Can you just see that coming up through the ground? That pipe runs underneath all that and sticks his head up in there. And then on this end there's actually two of them, so I've got a spare one there which you can see. I don't know where the one, there it is, just there. You can see that coming up through the ground. That runs that way underneath all of that lot, and pops his head up in here somewhere, so it's all connected, but you know, you can't see it. So yeah, just need to mess around with the irrigation and pull that out. And the idea of this is that what I can do is, when I want to feed something through it, so let's just say I wanted to feed an irrigation through that, I just dig out around that hole, take the fitting off that I've got on just to stop the mud getting in there, push a pipe through from this end, and because it's a big long pipe underneath there, it will just run through and then stick his head up over there in that one, and I don't need to dig everything up to run pipes. Or if I then want to take that one out and put a cable through there for a light, I can do. So yeah, so basically my plans for the next 4 to 6 months is going to be research into conifers, climbers, and then going on from that, the trellis and the sort of high bits for the climbers to work onto, and then just get the utilities out here. So yeah, that's my main next projects. We'll see how we do with them. You may have spotted my new plant. That is a Asplenium nidus, or the bird's nest fern, epiphytic. So hopefully, I'm going to do a bit of research on it because I've not really read anything up on it. I take it it's not going to want to live out here all year, so I just need to work out how I'm going to do it. Ideally, I'll put it in a pocket and whack it coming off of that, or I might build out a little branch at the top, you know, a fake branch, and have it hanging. But we'll see what they like and what they don't like and all that, so, and we'll go from there. So yeah, anyway, hope you're having a good day. That was a bit of a flesh out. Yeah, I'm gonna now dig through all of this, raise the level up over there, and that'll be me for winter work done then. So yeah, hope everyone's doing all right, and I will see you on the next one.